Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Xander Sprague.
Hello, Epic people, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Xander Sprague, and today I have a special guest. I have Alison Gieschen joining me all the way from the Marquesas, which is in the South Pacific. Alison, welcome. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. And I used to be a school teacher, horse farm owner, and just general American citizen. And my husband and I gave up everything, sold everything we owned. We moved aboard a 43-foot sailboat, and we are now full-time sailors circumnavigating the globe.
That is so exciting. What an epic adventure. Oh my gosh, so much to talk about. I'm sure there's more stories than I will get to. But for just a question about, because I'm a sailor and I'm curious, are you on a 43-foot, is it a monohull, a trimaran?
It is a monohull. We went back and forth about the best kind of boat to do this, and we researched it and had a mentor who was an extremely knowledgeable person who sailed around the world many times, and he recommended this brand of boat, and it took us 5 years because there's only 50 ever made, but we found her.
And what can I ask what kind of boat it is?
It is a Tazwell 43 cutter
Awesome.
rig.
Cool. So how long have you guys been circumnavigating the world?
We have been out 8 years.
Wow. And have you already completed one circumnavigation, or are you?
Unfortunately, no. We've been to around 49 countries and 4 continents. However, we were stopped for 2 years because of COVID. We had arrived in Ireland when COVID hit, and we couldn't go anywhere for 2 years.
Wow.
And as a result, we had to miss the Baltic, which we were really looking forward to. But
Right.
they just didn't open up even after the 2 years, so we just had to continue.
And were you just living on the boat for 2 years, or did you go back, like, leave the boat and go back to the US?
We
And
did. We did go back a couple of times, and our kids came and visited us once, 2 of our children, and we rented a car and drove all around the country of Ireland, and there was nobody at any of the, really popular locations, so it was like having all of Ireland to ourselves. So, in a way, it was really kinda cool.
oh, that is kinda cool. Like any epic adventure, there is also, and especially with sailing, what I like to call the epic unexpected. Those things that happen when you're sailing that you could not have anticipated. So, can you share with me, Alison, what are some of those things that have been those epic unexpecteds that you learn? I mean, again, that you learn from?
So, I'd have to say the very first one, which is epic not in a good way, was our very first ocean crossing.
Yeah.
So we signed up with a rally. It's called the Salty Dog Rally, and everybody crosses the ocean together. Actually, no, our first one was the Ark Rally. They prepare you. They have a weather router. They check all of your safety equipment. You spend a week taking courses. And we started off to cross. Everybody was excited, and we couldn't wait. It's going to be like a 2-week passage to get to the Virgin Islands from Norfolk area. And our engine started making a funny noise. And there had just been a hurricane that went through. I think it was Irma,
Mhm.
and we knew we were going to a place that was gonna have lots of boat wreckages and no place to repair boats, and my husband's
Right.
like, "Do we really wanna start this ocean crossing?" Knowing there might be something wrong with our engine. So we diverted, to Wilmington, and we had the boat checked out. Nobody could find anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
So 10 days later, the weather router was still working with us, and he said, "Go ahead, if you get across the Gulf Stream in the next 24 hours, you'll be fine, but you gotta leave, like, in the next 2 hours."
Yeah.
So we pulled up anchor, we were all provisioned, we headed off, got across the Gulf Stream just fine. And when the sun came up the next morning, all of a sudden we realized the waves were getting bigger and bigger and the wind was getting stronger. And we were trapped between, you remember the movie The Perfect Storm,
Yes,
where
very
two
much
fronts
so.
converge? It's exactly what happened to us. So a storm was pushing in front of us, a storm was coming up behind us, and it compressed the waves, and we had 20-foot waves crashing on the deck of our boat. It ripped our dinghy off where it was strapped upside down to 2 handrails. It ripped the handrails out of the boat, put the dinghy through the lifeline, and now the dinghy is slamming against the boat, and it was, tied up to the mast, and we were getting ready to lose our mast, so Dan had to go up in 20-foot waves and cut that boat free. We
Yeah.
lost our windsurfer, our scuba gear, a solar panel, a titanium whisker pole, all overboard.
Wow.
So we turned around, and 5 days later, we were back in the Wilmington area, 20 miles from where we started, with $14,000 worth of damage to our boat, and that was our first ocean crossing.
What fun. And then you're like, yes, let me sign up and do more of this, please.
I did have a little PTSD after that. I was
I,
a little, taken back by that experience.
I'm sure that I'm sure you were. So before you left, how much offshore sailing experience did you and your husband have? And who's the mechanic? Because I know I haven't done, transoceanic passages. I've sailed like for I mean, really most of my life. But I also know that even just doing, a few hour sail, stuff goes wrong, and you have to
Oh, yes,
know
it
you
does.
have to be able to fix it. And when you're out in the middle of the Atlantic, the Pacific, or wherever you are, it's up to you to try and figure out how to fix it. So who's the fix it, or have you both learned a lot?
I would be 0 on the fix-it department unless it happens in the galley, and I'm great. But my husband was a merchant marine,
Okay,
and he was a naval, engineer, a mechanical marine engineer,
cool.
and he is
That's
now known
helpful.
as he's known as the boat MacGyver because he has stopped us from sinking at least 2 times, and I think once was with a safety pin. So, he's amazing, and he had crossed oceans on merchant ships. So he had, been to, all over the place on these merchant ships. Me,
Absolutely.
I had not been on the open seas. I had sailed in lakes, and I raced in college in Charlotte. So to prepare me for going out into the ocean, when we used to go to boat shows actually all over the country, boat shows, and listen to the seminars, the educational seminars.
Hmm.
And there was a man named John Kretschmer, and he's a delivery boat captain, and he's written 5 books on sailing. And he was giving a talk on sailing in storms. And I'm like, Dan, I have to go listen to this because that was my biggest fear.
Sure.
So after his presentation, which totally blew me away because he was just so composed and had, no fear and so much practicality in how he addressed being in storms. And yeah, you just do this. I'm like, oh, okay. At the end, he goes, now I do have a heavy weather training passage where we take you out and do 1,000 miles in the trade winds, and you can be out on the ocean and experience heavy weather sailing to prepare you. And I'm like raising my hand, going, Dan, that's a need. I mean, I
Yeah.
have to do that. Not a want. I have to do this.
Yeah.
So I signed up with John Kretschmer, and we did a 1,000-mile training passage from the Virgin Islands to the Grenadines, Grenada, and then back again. And it was really heavy weather. So I get my confidence up, and afterwards he's like, my Dan got to go with me. Like, you guys are going to be fine. You're going to do just fantastic.
Yeah.
So that was my only experience out on the ocean in heavy weather, but I thought that I had it handled, but apparently I did not.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I mean, sailing and Murphy's Law are boy, they're holding hands as you're on the boat, because what can go wrong will go wrong, and inevitably, it's the one part that you just don't have right now. You had it, you used it, but now you don't have that part, right?
And can I just add that we have been in 5 countries now for at least 3 months or more waiting on boat parts.
Yes. Yes. And that is one of those things that I do know from, watching some, like Sailing Nahoa and Delos and stuff, where I'm watching they're documenting, their circumnavigation, and you're right. They're like, "Well, we've been here for 2 months because there's a part, and we are in this beautiful remote atoll, and it's going to take 2 months for us to get a part that if we were actually like in, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the United States, somewhere in Europe, might take us 2 weeks. So I assume that you guys went through the Panama Canal in your boat.
We did. That was epic. It was incredible. My grandfather actually worked protecting the people in the Panama Canal because there was so much, strife and turmoil going on. And he was on a plane that was bringing supplies to the Panama Canal, and he actually got shot in the chest. He was up on the roof, and he had
Yeah.
us up there with his gun, and he got shot in the chest. However, he had a medal as he had saved somebody else's life, and the bullet hit the medal and saved his life.
Oh, well,
So,
that's a good story.
yeah.
And what was it like? I mean, again, the Panama Canal, there you are in your 43-foot monohull boat, and there's all kinds of, like, incredibly large tankers and other cargo
Mhm.
ships along with you, right?
We were in the lock with, another with a huge ship. We had a sailboat on each side of us, and, actually, we were the outside boat. There was a large boat on the inside, another sailboat on the other side of them, and then a tanker behind us. So we all went in together, and it's just it's you really can't describe it. There's some pretty good YouTube videos of going through the locks, and they're really fun to watch because you get the feeling of the immensity of the water that's coming in and how you raise up and how you lower back down again.
Yeah. It is truly an engineering marvel
Mhm.
and certainly saving a lot of time. I'm pretty sure you and your husband were not like, "Sure, let's go down and sail around, the tip of South America."
Well, we are gonna do that when we get back because he really wants to go to Antarctica. That's his, bucket list item,
I
probably
got
number
it.
1.
So, can you share? Because I'm curious, and I'm sure the audience is. What has sort of been in the last 8 years? What's sort of been the route? Because it sounds like you were over in Ireland, so you clearly went across the Atlantic towards Europe, but you went through the
So
Panama Canal, which indicates that you came back.
right. So we started in the US, and we went to the Caribbean,
Yeah,
and we went to Bermuda, the Azores, which when everybody asks, "What's your favorite place you've been to?" It's definitely the Azores.
yeah,
It's a group of islands off of Portugal. And then we went to Ireland, then we went to Scotland, and we did some of the Scottish Isles, and then as soon as we could, we went along the coast of Europe to the Med. We went through the Med and touched most of the countries there, stopped in Morocco and visited Africa. We went to the Canary Islands. The Canary Islands, we meant to cross, but our autopilot broke, so we had to stop in Cape Verde, where we got stuck for 3 months waiting for a new autopilot.
mhm,
And then we crossed from there back to the ABCs, and, we did the ABCs, and then we went to, Colombia, and from Colombia, we went up and went through the Panama Canal, and then we were in that area for another 5 months. Again, we had to redo our forest day and everything. We went to the Galapagos Islands, from
mhm.
the Galapagos to where we are right now.
Cool. Well, that is great. What was it like doing I mean, Atlantic versus Pacific passages in terms of
Well,
yeah,
the Atlantic was wonderful. Crossing back this way was awesome. It was just like I was at some point in the middle of the, 18 I think how long did it take us, Dan? 18 days. I said, "I don't care if I ever reach shore." Like, I could just be out here forever. It was that beautiful. Like, you
yeah.
just didn't have a care in the world, and it was absolutely incredible, and dolphins would come play on the bow in the sunset, and we caught fish, and we just loved life.
Was
The
it just
Pacific.
like a downwind run?
Yes, mostly
Oh,
downwind. Yeah, it was incredible. And the Pacific was horrible. It was a nightmare, mostly because the I told you we had to replace our forestay
yeah.
in Panama. The guys didn't put Loctite in all of the little sections holding
Uh-huh.
the forestay together, and, our sail they all fell out, all the screws fell out, and our jib got caught and ripped. And then we started having engine trouble. So we went to the Galapagos on an emergency because you're not allowed to land there unless you pay $4,000 for permits and have
Right.
your bottom cleaned and all this stuff. But they have to let you in if it's an emergency. So we had to do these, emergency repairs, get everything put back together. Dan had to go up the mast. And he had to actually cut every single screw because we couldn't get the right size screw. So we had to cut 40 screws the right size, go up the mast, get everything put back together. We're there for 2 weeks or so. We head back out. and we're out for another 10 days, and the drum falls off. Now, the guy didn't put that on right either. So now our sail rips again. And then we got caught up in a Chinese fishing fleet, which is a whole nother story. And they put out these 60-mile long nets,
Yeah.
and they just catch everything. They kill the whales and the dolphins and the sea turtles, and they're really
Yeah.
very nasty groups. And what happens is if they get nets caught up or whatever, they'll just cut sections and throw them in the ocean. And sailboats get these caught on their rudders. So, of course, middle of the night, our boat screeches to a halt, and 5 knots of current and 25 knots of wind, and we're like, "Oh, this isn't good." And so we hove to. The next morning, Dan put the GoPro under the boat and saw that there was marks all over the rudder where we had something tangled there.
Right.
So we turned the boat back into the wind, went to engage the autopilot. It didn't work. It had broken our autopilot. So we were 650 miles in 10-foot seas, 25 knots, and we have no autopilot. And we had a hand steer 650 miles to get
Oh,
to
now
the.
that's so
Yeah.
much fun, Alison.
Yeah, no, I didn't
No.
really find I could only do it for 30 minutes at a time. It was so physically difficult because our steering also got loosened. The
Yeah.
cables got loosened, and this boat wasn't responding well. So at one point, we actually hove to for an entire day, and he went below like MacGyver, and we got it somewhat tightened again.
Yeah. That was
But
gonna be my question, like, with the nets, did you or Dan have to go overboard to try and clear the nets off of the rudder?
well, I wouldn't let him. I wouldn't, because I mean the conditions were just so bad. That's why he took the GoPro, put it on a boat hook, put
Yeah.
it under the water, and we were able to see that the rudder was okay and that there was something on there because it was all scraped up,
Mm.
but it had freed itself. But
Oh,
he
okay.
had to take
Well, that's good.
he had to take the entire pedestal off the boat, which we had never done. We had a queen size bed in the back. We had to take the mattress off, all the boards, and crawl into the very aft of the boat with great big, huge pliers and stuff. And the boat's doing this, and we're getting our knuckles cut and scraped. And it took 2 of us to slightly tighten the steering enough that I could at least keep the boat on course. Because every time I got a little bit off, the whole boat would broach over because of the waves
Right.
hitting
No,
us. And
absolutely.
so I
Well,
did
it just
30
sounds
minutes.
so much fun, Alison. Oh my
I
god.
know, I just can't even imagine them, I have nightmares about it because it was just so wonderful. But I could do 30 minutes, he could do 3 hours, and then every night we hove to.
Yeah.
So we finally got there, and I see the Marquesas, and it was my number 1 place on the planet out of before he left. Dan says, "Where's your number 1 place?" I'm like, "Well, French Polynesia, duh." And finally comes into view, and I got my legs over the rail, and I'm just looking at it. He goes, "There it is. Can you see it?" I'm like, "Yep." I feel nothing. I had no emotion left. I was so
Yeah.
wiped out. I felt nothing. So we pull into Hiva-Oa, drop the anchor, and then the very next morning, there's a knock on the boat, and we have a bottle of champagne for when we get epic places.
Yep.
And I didn't even want to drink it. I'm like, "Dan," he's like, "No, damn it. You're drinking the champagne. You're going to enjoy this moment." So the next moment, there's a knock on the boat, and there's a guy in a boat saying, "You got to leave the harbor." And we're like, "What?" He goes, "There's a tsunami coming." So, there's nothing like the icing on the cake of a tsunami after you've hand steered 650 miles across the Pacific. So
Absolutely.
they made us go back out to sea for, the night because of the tsunami event that came and was a non-event.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. And so, before we came on, I asked, like, kind of where you're going next. So you will be making your way through the South Pacific, stopping at various places like the Cook Islands, an epic
Mhm.
destination, if I must say. Rarotonga is beautiful. Atutaki, which is a ring reef, spectacular. So beautiful. And then you're New Zealand, Australia, and TBD.
Definitely, yes. We really can't plan ahead because we've never been anywhere when we thought we'd be there. It's like the story of our lives. We just show up where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there, and that's our motto.
Absolutely. What are, like, 2 or 3 things that you'd like people to know about sailing around the world?
It's really changes your entire perspective about life because when you're living in a home on land, you have stability, you have a car, you can go to a grocery store, you have so many conveniences. You can have something delivered to your house the next day on Amazon. And along with that comes a lot of pressure and a lot of demands on your time. And the structure in your life really drives your life. Here, there is no structure driving our life. It is totally freeing, and everything we own is on this 43 feet of boat. We can pack it in one bag. And when
Right.
you shed all of those
Worldly
necessities that you have to
possessions,
do
yeah.
or and the pressures of life, you can focus on the beauty of the world around you and meeting these indigenous people and, and just enjoying things you'd never see or never experience in a normal lifetime. And we've just really come to appreciate the simplicity and the level of enjoyment that we never knew existed.
Right. Is it your intent to just keep sailing?
We have no intent.
There you go.
We literally might die next week. So why? I mean, I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, but
No,
really,
no, no.
we've we've just learned over the last 8 years that nothing we've planned has even come remotely close to happening. It's
Definitely.
just, this is an adventure, and when it ends and we'll figure out what to do, we plan on getting around the world, and then if we do, we'll figure it out from there. Everybody's like, "Well, are you gonna sell your boat, move on land?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, how can I possibly
I don't
know?"
even
Because
know. I don't even know when I'm getting out of the Marquesas right now.
exactly. Like, really? Don't ask me what's gonna happen when we get around the world because I can't tell you, and I can't predict.
Absolutely. What are one or two things that you just really miss from the sort of terrestrial, the landlocked life?
I guess mostly my family. I have
Mhm.
5 grandchildren now. They call us Boat Grandma and Boat Grandpa, and we do thanks to Starlink, which has been an amazing game changer. We did not have that, obviously, when we started out.
Right.
I can FaceTime them, and these little smiling faces look at me, and I show them the islands that we're on and the fish in the water, but we try to go home once a year, don't always get to do that, and when we're there, the time is absolutely precious. I know a lot of people take for granted that when their grandchildren walk through their front door or they go visit, a family member. For us, it's just magical to be there. So it's given us a greater appreciation of time with family, but that is the one thing that we do miss. Other than that, there's not a whole lot that we say, "Oh my gosh, I wish we were back home because of this, or this."
Yeah, definitely. Any adventure like this, there's if you reflect back on the last 8 years, how have you grown and how have you changed?
Oh boy. Well,
I
before
know that's a big question.
it is. That's in a lot of like 100 ways, really. I'm not the same person I was when I left 8 years ago, but my writing has definitely taken off because before I wrote a couple books, but now I'm a prolific author because A, I have time to write, and B, I, even though I write fiction and nonfiction, I have, chronicled our sailing journey, the first 2 books, and getting ready to write the third. But even my fiction weaves in things from experiences and knowledge I've gained and people I've met and places I've been. So my fiction is very much driven by my real experiences.
Absolutely. Now, do you have, any kind of do you have a YouTube channel or Instagram or, like, some place that people can kind of follow along and see what adventures the 2 of you are up to?
We have all of that. We have a Sailmates YouTube channel. Sailmates is our sailing brand, but
Got it.
my nautical novelists is my author name. So AlisonGieschen.com, I have all of my books. Sailmates.org is my sailing blog, and I'm an avid photographer. So I take pictures and do the history of the places that we've been and pictures and stories from everywhere we visited in the world. And then we have a YouTube channel with videos of different things we've encountered and fun experiences. And we're on Instagram, we're on everything. If you
Okay,
look
well, that's
Sailmates or
great.
our name. Yeah.
Cool. I for one, will be going to YouTube when we get done and go, let me go see some of the videos. It's just so cool. I mean, so much gosh, I have so many questions. What's one or two of the foods that you're like, I just because again, sometimes you're doing these really long passages and you can bring some fresh food, but depending on what's going on, sometimes you kind of run out. So now we're
Right.
into freeze dried or whatever. Like
Mhm.
in these 8 years, what's one or two things that you're like, I really wow, I just don't want that.
I really haven't encountered something that I don't want because number 1, we don't feel like eating much when we're doing passages. We might have 1 meal a day,
Yeah.
and there's so many new things that have come out with food and being able to preserve it and store it and keep it. that food is not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the Marquesas, getting, like, good meat and stuff is really difficult unless you like goat, and I don't really eat goat because they were my friends.
I get
But,
it. I get it.
I think being on land is more of an issue because you feel like you should be able to go and find things that you like to eat, and a lot of times I walk on the grocery store and it's either canned or it just you look in the freezer and go, "I have no idea what that is, and I don't really wanna eat it because it's $26 for a piece of meat,"
Yeah,
this big.
totally.
So, I think it's the passages are not a problem. We eat very simply, and I have enough variety, and we when we catch a fish, then, I make incredible fish dishes. Just they're magical. So, I would say it's more being in the islands and wanting to have food like you're used to in the US or other countries, and
Yeah.
you just can't find it.
Okay, so here's a question for you. You talked about obviously when you're out cruising, you can drop a line off the back, hope that you catch some fish, and that's always exciting. However, there are the fish that that you catch, and maybe you are or Dan to your husband, right?
Right.
You bring it in, and then you're like, yeah, that's just not a good eater. I mean, there are the fish that just are not necessarily particularly good for eating. So, I mean, what do you hope to catch? Is it like
Okay, so
ahi or
there's only been one fish that wasn't good for eating, and after we tried it once, we never made that mistake again. It looks like a tuna, but it's called a little tunny,
yeah,
and basically their nickname is cat food because that's really the only thing you'd wanna feed it to is your cat. But
gotcha.
other than that, there has not been a fish. I mean, we love the mahis, we love the tunas, we love the Spanish mackerel. We accidentally caught a 6-foot long sailfish, and that was horrific because it took us 2 hours to get it beside the boat, and we didn't wanna kill it, and we weren't gonna eat it, and it just almost did us in trying to deal with this fish, but it finally snapped the hook and went away, so everybody won. But, no, the fish are just amazing, and we have not caught anything that we have not enjoyed eating. Sometimes it's too much,
Right.
so that's the only problem.
Have you guys encountered as you're doing your transoceanics? There's most boats have kind of a beacon signal that will show up on your radar, and I think it's
Mhm.
AIS. I think.
Yes. Mhm.
Have you encountered some of the ghost fleets where like you're sailing and all of a sudden you're like, there's boats, but we didn't see them on the AIS because they don't turn on their AIS.
Well, that would be the Chinese fishing fleet, and they
Okay.
do not turn it on, and they're 200-foot boats, and there is a pack of about 10 of them, and they will not respond to you on the radio.
Mhm.
They will not tell you that they see you, and they're going to avoid you, and the only reason Dan actually got a little forewarning is because they are picked up on a global, satellite. They don't have their
Mhm.
AIS on, but on No Foreign Land, which is a really cool sailing app, they did show up, but not on our radar, not on our equipment, and Dan was able to say, "Hey, there's a fleet coming, and they're going this way, and we're gonna be going right through them."
Yeah.
And we actually had to turn our engine because 'cause I'm hailing them. I'm like, "You see us, right?" Because we're on collision courses. They're 200 feet long. We're 43 foot long.
Yeah.
And they would not answer me, so we were under sail, and we had to turn our engine on and just get the hell out of there as fast as we could. And they came so close that I took a picture with my phone of our radar, and it actually looked like their boat was touching ours,
Oh,
like
wow.
T-boning us, but they were 200 feet from passing us, which is really, really, really close.
So you're in a big wide open ocean, plenty of room, and they're 200 feet away. Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of scary.
It was very scary. I was not happy that day, but we
Right.
got through it, and then we ran into their net, and they took off our autopilot, which caused, horrific problems because we couldn't get it repaired. It was just, another major headache.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I want to finish up with this because I part of what I write about in my book are when on any epic adventure, when we think of doing it, there's two really important words, not yet. I love these words because there's so much optimism. Now I know that you guys have a lot of not yets. But what would you say is one or two as you look forward to where you're going or where you'd like to go? Kind of those not yets.
I'm really looking forward to the diving because we have a compressor on board and we scuba dive.
Yeah.
to spending time, like uninterrupted time in diving paradise. And I feel like we're going to get that up in the Thailand area because I've just been researching and it looks absolutely phenomenal. And I want to have a stress-free, no planned diving vacation on my own sailboat and see some of the most incredible sea life there is to see. And we had some great diving in Curacao and Bonaire and, that kind of stuff. But it
Yeah,
was, you have to get in your dinghy and we had to go out of a long channel. And sometimes we're out there in 4-foot waves trying to get off our dinghy and go down and diving.
I
I
get
just
it.
want peaceful, wonderful diving experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Allison, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Truly, and boy, what an epic adventure that you've been on and that you continue to be on. I wish you all the luck, calm seas, following winds, all of that, and hopefully not too many mechanicals.
Oh, thank you. That's our dream.
I'm sure. Anyway, thank you so much. And just once again, if people want to get a hold of you, follow you, how can they do that?
The easiest to remember is Sailmates, like soulmates, but sailmates.org. And there's links on that to our YouTube channel, to my author channel, to probably everything on my blog
Well,
site.
awesome. Thank you so much. I want to remind everyone that if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. And as always, remember, epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book Epic Begins with One Step Forward at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Xander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Xander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.